Okay, welcome back everyone to the Cranbourne East Secondary College podcast. As usual, you have me, Mr. Young, joining you, and
Mr. L here as well.
our special guest.
I am Mr. Bugge.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, Mr. Bugge is our performing arts teacher. So he is someone you would have seen around school a lot, and he would have taken a lot of passion and been in a lot of plays.
Yeah, so my passion kind of started when I was in like year 10. I was really into photography and I was photographing the school musical Beauty and the Beast. And they were like, all the performing arts teachers was like, audition. I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah. And then I never got around to doing it. And then I remember taking the photography for that and going, whoa, okay, I want to do this. And then we did Rocker Stedford the following year, where I got to get into a few opportunities because I was like one of the only boys that was really interested in it. I got to go to like Ministry of Dance and take all these like dance workshops and stuff. Yeah. And then year 12, I did my first musical, West Side Story.
Oh, aren't they re-releasing that?
They
I
are.
saw the trailer. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Trailer came out like yesterday. It looks
Yeah.
awesome. I'm pretty sure Spielberg's directing.
Yes, that's right. So you can combine your art for like photography because the filmography looks amazing.
Oh, it looks
for that.
phenomenal.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. So, what would have been like the biggest or your most favorite aspect of the performing, like any of your plays that you do?
Definitely in high school, it was very much about like the cast becoming a family and becoming such a tight knit like unit. Like you've got people from year 7 looking to the year 11s and 12s for advice and guidance and, you know, role models that they can kind of be like, oh, I want to be that kind of performer when I grow up. And just because you spend so much time together, like you just become a family without even trying. Yeah. That was definitely my favorite aspect and still is to this day.
Yeah, you'd probably have to like really build on your connection with everyone just to make sure everything flows really smoothly.
Definitely. The hardest thing is achieving authenticity on stage. And so you like naturally by spending time with these people, you will develop those connections anyway. So
Cool. Well, since I like Disney so much and you just talked about Beauty and the Beast, was there a particular role that they wanted you to audition for? Or did they just say, just audition?
just audition, I believe it was Lumiere. Lumiere is definitely someone that I have always wanted to play.
Did you have to sing the
I
part
didn't
as well?
audition for that one.
Okay,
So
yeah.
if I had it, I would have.
Okay, yeah.
Year 12, I auditioned for, I think I auditioned for Riff in West Side Story. So walked into the room, sung my song, walked out. We got told a week later whether we got the part or not. I did not.
Hey, you, Mr. Ng, did you ever have to audition in high school or primary school or anything like that?
So I actually didn't have like any of the leading roles or background character roles. Typically, I would be in the orchestra. So I believe I've told you a lot that I am like quite musically minded. So back in the day, I used to do the clarinet solos. So I used to be the principal clarinetist for my school, which meant that I would be the lead clarinet in most of the songs we played. And so I vaguely remember that I was asked to help perform for Bugsy Malone. So we did that, and so that was where I got my first really intimidating clarinet solo.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I don't remember what production it was, but we had our speech night, which is where we just have a reward ceremony for our year 12s. And then so they were like, oh, our lead clarinetist actually has graduated and is not coming back. Can you play this for me? Like, just play this solo.
go.
I was like, you're giving me a week.
Yeah.
You're giving me a week to perform solo in front of 200 people.
So in your high school, you actually had the live orchestra performing with the play.
Yeah.
How about your high school, Mr.
Yeah, so we had an orchestra as well, and Cranbourne East this year will be having a band for the first time for the school musical.
amazing.
They had one in 2019, a little bit for We Will Rock You, but our full show will be played by a band.
That is awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. In our high school, we did have house drama, but they never actually did anything with us from the musical side with an orchestra. So I remember the first time I went to watch my friend's performance at Melbourne Uni, he was like first violin, and it was like me seeing that for the first time. I was like, oh yeah, live band with the performance. That I never realized that in high school. It was until uni. Yeah.
I reckon like live bands always just elevates a production.
Elevate it to the next level.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
And the first, so what is known as the sits probe, the first time you hear the band play the score and you sing with them, it's just my favorite rehearsal. It's the most magical moment because everyone's like we have a show. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everything's finally
Yeah.
coming together.
Oh yeah, and that final dress rehearsal, I remember that type of
Yeah.
panic because I never did any of the drama aspect of things in high school, but in primary school I did.
Yeah.
So I think he works in the eastern suburbs, but there's a person who he writes his own musics and he writes his own like stories, especially for primary school, and so they hire him, and he comes in for like I think like 5 weeks to teach the grade sixes. All right, this is the performance we're gonna do this year. Here are the songs, and they audition for roles. So we did like a Ned Kelly musical at grade 6.
That's cool.
Yeah. And like the songs are funny, you know, they're very creative. He plays a piano, plays along, and you sing along as the grade 6s. And I did get one of the main parts where I was one of the 4 Kelly Gang brothers. And so that for me was really fun because I got to wear the armor as well.
that's so cool.
Exactly, this little paper armor, and we were singing along. We had to have teachers hold the microphones to our little puppets. I loved it. That's when I started, performing arts and acting. I love that aspect of things. From
Yeah,
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, actually, I'm not sure if you guys did as well, but our school had Christmas productions.
No.
My primary school had like the end of year concert where everyone would perform like 3 songs, and one of them was generally a Christmas carol.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those are always my favorite.
I never had that.
It's so good. We had from preps 1 to 3, it was mandatory for people to do it, so you had no choice. But it was so nice because they had a good story, but then they'd always have like each year level sing one song, and so it'd always be like you'd all gather around in one assembly hall, practice singing that song and the dance moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
Similar to what my primary school did.
It's at the moment probably not something people enjoyed too much because they were forced to do it.
Yeah.
Reflecting on it, it was probably one of the best things I've ever done for primary school.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of that, that does bring me to a question for you, Mr. Bugge, which is, I think when we were in high school, probably the idea of dancing wasn't as popular as it is today, though, right? Because wouldn't you say TikTok has played a huge part into the dance culture of our youth?
Massive part.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of TikTok. All of my students will know that.
Yep.
And the amount of times I'm like, don't mention TikTok in my class.
Yep.
But I can't deny the fact that it's played such a big part in, allowing these younger generations to go, I want to dance. I want to be able to do that, especially for males
Yeah,
who are
definitely.
normally,
Young males, yeah.
a bit concerned and self-conscious and worried about what other people might think. They're now more willing to go, yeah, I can do a renegade or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've also found that like even because it's not just TikTok, but the types of dances you learn have changed.
definitely.
Because I remember being in prep 2 grade 4, we learned how to dance. No, not. It wasn't
that was me. That was me.
It was the chicken dance or folklore. It was folklore dancing.
Yeah.
And then from then on, it was like hip hop.
Oh.
Well, as like if we're going through like the evolution of dance, there's a really cool video on YouTube titled "The
Dance.
Evolution
Yes,
of Dance."
of
I'm sure
course,
we all have all
classic.
seen it, and you really see why people empathize and like it more because it's more in tune with things that they may view as cool.
Yeah.
Those hip hop and R&B styles.
Yeah, definitely. Because for me, I also remember what my high school did was we, in our PE unit, ballroom dancing was mandatory, I think in year 9, for every single year 9. And then so at that time, we also had to learn, all right, we actually have to interact with the other gender or hold hands. Because, back then, like, holding hands with girls,
Yeah,
right?
literally.
Cooties was a thing.
Cooties was definitely a thing.
But I think one of the coolest things that my high school did was they actually had a partnership with another high school in our local area. And then so what would happen is that like the top 10 ballroom dancers of our school, every single year, we would have to get together with the top 10 ballroom dancers of their school and we'd compete, right? Now, I never made it through, but my best friend, he made it through. And one of our really good mates goes to the other school. And he made it through. So when he saw you, you what, mate? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. And then like ballroom dancing against each other.
You know what? I've
Yeah.
actually seen an anime that's about ballroom dancing.
Really?
What
What's
is
it
it?
called?
I don't know. I don't remember what. Oh no, it's called Welcome to the Ballroom.
Oh,
Never heard of it.
New or old?
Ballroom, no Yokusho or something like that. But they literally like make ballroom dancing so technical, and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
What? I want to see this. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just seen snippets of it,
Yeah.
and it looks like a good watch. So
Okay.
Oh, look.
yeah, it's one of those things. But my question is, out of all the productions you've been to,
Oh, gosh. I've seen a lot.
Yep.
yep, which one do you think left the biggest impact on you?
Okay.
To clarify, does it have to be seen in person, or could you have watched the theatre production on screen? Because, for example, Hamilton, I've never seen it in person. I've never flown to Sydney to watch it, but I've watched it on Disney Plus.
But I'm gonna argue that being there in person is more impactful than watching
Yes.
it on a TV.
True.
For sure.
But Hamilton is so damn good, though.
Hamilton's very good.
But
So
then
it's like, yeah.
but then it's like the ambience and the
True.
sound acoustics of that room.
All
that
right,
you're
so
watching
I'll leave my choice to only something that I watch live. Okay, I'll leave it to something that I watch live.
Okay.
Okay.
Budgie, I'm guessing you're scrolling through like so many.
So I've okay, through my life, I reckon I've probably seen close to 600 to 700 shows.
Wow.
I am very fortunate enough to have seen Hamilton live in New York, front row.
Yeah.
It was very good. However, the show that hit me the most was Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway. Ben Platt, who some of you might know from like Pitch Perfect, he was the magician, Benji. That show spoke a lot to me. It spoke about a lot of things that I found quite important, and some of the things that I also became a teacher for, like focusing on mental health and really learning to love who you are as a person and find who you are. I saw it before like the soundtrack was out, before any information was out. He'd just come off the high of Pitch Perfect, and I remember sitting in that theatre, and I ended up just so happening to sit next to an Australian performer who I knew, and I was like, what are you doing here?
In New York,
Yeah, literally. And then it got to interval, and not a single person in the theatre moved. Like, so the last song of Act 1 is called You Will Be Found. And I don't want to give any spoilers, it's a very powerful show. And the song finished and not a single person moved. And you could hear a penny drop in that theatre, and everyone was like, you could just hear tears. Like, everyone's like, what did we just see?
Yeah.
And that was the most powerful thing I think I've ever seen in my life, to the point where I didn't care what I spent. I went back and saw it 2 more times while I was there.
Yep, with Ben Platt as well.
Yeah.
Both times. Yep.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. L?
Oh, I haven't been to as many shows as Mr. Budgie. I mean, for me, I went to a lot of ones that are like very famous that people know of, because that's like an easy entry point,
Yeah.
right? So me, I like Disney, so I went to Lion King. I'm going to watch Aladdin. Aladdin, I quite like, kind of like what you mentioned, like magic happening,
Yeah.
like live magic happening with performance. That was quite interesting to see. I feel like there was one that I saw that did have me in tears as well, and I think it was at Melbourne University, and that's the one where I went to visit my friend. So it was a completely original story. It's about like a puppet master, similar to Pinocchio type of thing, puppet master, and it's like a story behind that. But I don't remember too much about the actual premise, but I remember that was quite moving. Yeah, I haven't been to as many in
Yeah, I've
person.
been to too many.
Yeah, I tend to the productions that I tend to go to is usually because I am helping out
Yeah.
in some way. Because I do lights, I do sound, and I can play music as well. So for example, I've played my friend's rendition of Book of Mormon. So I
like
remember
Book of
playing
Mormon?
bass of Book of Mormon, interesting songs. So stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, very interesting songs.
very interesting
Yeah,
songs.
very interesing songs.
Students don't listen.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So I'm usually more backstage than actually watching it in front, in person. How about you, Mr. Young?
I'm the same. I've actually never been to one to watch.
Ah, okay.
I've only been the one, like the person who actually just plays in the background, or
Yep.
is like just helping people out with like costumes or stuff like that.
Mm.
But one I do want to see is Wicked, I believe. Yeah. That, I
yep,
think
yep.
like
It's good.
yeah, like just the vocals in that and all the music. It
Yeah.
just sounds so good. I've already listened to the music. I just haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's just a show that you can't go wrong with. No, even if it's done poorly, you're still going to have a great
yeah,
time.
exactly. It's like you can't really find a fault with it.
No.
Actually, that does bring me to that brought up a very interesting question in my mind. I want to ask the both of you, right? What's story that is currently not a theatre production, that if you had the choice to, I want it to be a theatre production and I want to watch it, what would it be? Because I know my one. I like there's weird ones out there like Spider-Man, and you can make it into a musical. Like I believe in a few years ago, was it like a Shane Warne musical?
There was.
Yeah,
There was an Australian production of Shane Warne the musical.
so anything could be musical. But for me, I remember one movie that I watched that's not a musical production. Not a theatre production. I was like, hey, you know what? This will actually work quite well. Greatest Showman. I love the music from Greatest Showman. I was thinking about what if the stage was designed in a way where you all watch like a circus style around and things are happening in the middle. That could be quite interesting.
That could be cool. That could be very cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll give you guys a bit more time to think about it because now I just remembered what my favorite show and the most moving show is. They only do this show overseas in Macau in one of the casinos where they have a show called House of Dancing Waters.
I've heard of this.
And I took Mr. Chamberlain and Miss Blackson to go see it when we were in Macau. It was amazing. It's like a circus, stunts and all that stuff. And the stage is amazing. They must have chucked millions of dollars into it. It's like literally water, and then the show's taking place on water, and then the water will go down, and then like a building will come up. The stage movement, it's amazing.
I've heard of it. I've heard very good things.
So if you get a chance to ever go to Macau, 100% watch House of Dancing Waters. They might even give you a raincoat at times because the splash from the stage. It's very interactive. Yeah. So
nice.
But back to that question from before, choosing one property even be an anime. Who knows? Like or video game or whatever. Theatre production. Go.
Do you want to start?
Mine's a bit obscure.
Okay.
So mine's actually one that my teacher turned into a play for my Year 12 Theatre Studies class. Heart and Souls, the Robert Downey Jr. film. From I think like the 90s, maybe a little bit even maybe the 80s. It's a story about 5 people that unfortunately passed away, and only Robert Downey Jr.'s character can see them, and they can kind of take over his body to help them sort out like their last wishes and like resolve anything that they didn't do when they were alive. I think that would create it worked really well as a stage production. I think if you added music and songs to that, it could have a lot of potential.
I wonder how they like show like the whole like I'm guessing it's like a possession based.
Yeah.
Yep. I wonder how they like show the possession.
The way we did it was the ghost would like touch the main character on the shoulder, and they would put their head down, and then he would just immediately like transform physicality wise.
Yeah.
So and then like a lighting would transition or something. We'd have like a quick flash, and
That's smart.
yeah.
That's smart. That is
Because the
really
only
smart.
way I thought of it was if the person was behind and in sync after.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
That'd be tough. That's almost like synchronized swimming and synchronized dancing. It'd be so hard. Yeah.
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
Okay, like you said anime, but like I was thinking about this before you said anime.
Really?
So, like, yes, I was.
Really?
I was.
Alright.
I swear. So, I don't know if everyone's seen it. It's one of the most famous Studio Ghibli movies for making people cry, and it's Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh,
I have not seen it.
Wow.
That would be a really interesting one to see
Yeah.
as a
Worth a watch?
It's really worth a watch. It's basically talking about a brother and sister, and they're surviving basically during, I think it was
World War II.
Yeah.
World War II.
Surviving World War II, and then seeing like the internal strife and them trying to make the most of like World War, like what they had basically.
Yeah, cool.
So I did that film actually in my film studies in year 12 because it's talking about like shifting perspectives into the Japanese, because we tend to think, all right, you know, we have the Nazis, the Japanese against the Allies, right? But we very rarely think about the civilians. And it was just like the brother was like probably 12, and the little girl was like 4.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
their parents said they had to find food. It was like literally, it's heart and gut wrenching to watch. Yeah.
Wow.
Like I reckon it, like if you have children, or like just like not even children, just young adults who are able to capture that emotion properly, that speaks volumes for the amount of maturity they're going to have and like their ability to express themselves. So it'll be really interesting to see how like they can actually push those emotions and then convey it to the audience as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. Well, I think one question I do have is, so Mr. Bugge, you don't play any musical instruments, do you?
No, I am self-taught in terms of music. Like I can read music. I have great music knowledge. I have relative pitch. A note can be played, and I can be like, "That's an A flat." Like I could probably, if I sat down and tried, learn how to play piano quite easily. But no,
Which instrument would you choose to be proficient at?
piano.
Piano?
Yeah,
It's the most flexible.
yeah.
Yeah, versatile. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what you can play.
And
Yeah.
like where you're needed. Like
True.
normally, like with anything, like they're like, okay, we can just do a piano version of this.
Yeah, so purely because like if I'm auditioning for a show or something and I need to practice my song, playing it on piano, like singing it with a pianist is so much different to singing it with like a backing track or something. Because someone in your audition is like, you're going to hand the music over.
Yeah.
They've probably never played that song before and they might make some mistakes. So you've got to get used to singing it with that piano without, you know, the rest of the instruments. So that's probably why, so that I could practice for auditions properly.
Or like even in that sense, like if you're performing and you want to just like take this one part slower,
Yeah,
you can.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's good for working out harmonies as well. Using
For sure.
like for me, violin it was fun, but then sometimes it's like if I'm the only violinist, it's like, well, this is boring.
Yeah.
Whereas piano, at least it sounds nice by itself. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's like, well, like you know how you were singing, like talking about singing with like a piano.
Yeah.
Can't do that with clarinet. I have to like exhale into a clarinet
Yeah.
to be able to play the clarinet. I can't sing.
Dual
at the
vocal
same-
cords?
Yeah, yeah. Like what was that? The throat singing.
Oh.
Oh, I've heard
like-
people doing that.
Like the Mongolians.
Yeah, the
right?
Mongolian.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah, like imagine if you could do that with like clarinet and trying to sing as well. That'd be crazy.
There's probably someone on TikTok that does it.
Probably. Yep. Oh, I can't believe we've gone back to TikTok.
Yeah, I know.
Oh boy.
And of all people, it was you.
I know.
Yeah.
Regrets.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah, I mean, we didn't have TikTok, but I remember when I was in year 12, probably the popular dance of the time was the sea walk. I don't know if it's kind of like, it's all,
sea walk?
the sea walk. Everything is all foot-based. I know people can't see, but it's all like, and you just like move around, but yeah.
Like
and
you do the
yeah, it's like the feet are like more like stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember people used to go to Fed Square and they would just like dance battle each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was if you could define your generation with a dance, like high school, think about high schooling, right? Close to year 12, what key dance was it?
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fish, little fish, cardboard box. No idea. Was there a popular like?
Because if you think about like the evolution of dance video, if you could
Yeah.
choose one, that's like, oh, yep, that one I identify with the most as my youth.
I see. I just wanted to forget a lot of high school. So
I believe it was just bad dancing.
yeah,
Okay.
people that thought that they could dance and couldn't.
But then you had like the really positive attitude where people would like circle the person, be like, "Come on, you got this, you got this."
Yeah.
People loved the worm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Break
Loved
dancing.
the worm.
Yeah, break dancing was huge. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my question as well. So you were talking about how production got you really into teaching because of that play. How was your first year of teaching? Because we both started at the same time.
COVID, yay!
Yeah. Right. So how was it?
It was intense. I care a lot,
Yeah.
and I put a lot of effort into. Like all my students know, I will always put mental and emotional well-being above anything else. And so I'm always someone who, like, they know I've got a very open door policy. You can come talk to me anytime, no matter what. If you're not feeling right at the start of a class, like, communicate with me. We can chat about it. We can discuss it. Especially because I'm really into something that isn't really explored that much in Australia at the moment, and that's drama therapy. So drama therapy was used a lot after 9/11 in America, where individuals will explore their trauma through playing other people's perspectives and seeing how other people would then play them and explore their trauma. So there's obviously a lot more about it, but I'm really interested by the idea of using drama in order to cope and process emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it hard to do that whilst online?
It was impossible. So many activities we had to change. There was definitely some like hidden gems that we found that we changed and we're like, this activity is amazing. Let's keep using it. And we still are using it. Dance was definitely the harder one. In my shoebox apartment filming videos, sending to my year 9 dance class of, yep, these are the moves.
Yeah.
And they're all like, yikes.
Like, oh, how do I do this?
Move the coffee table,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was hard. And I was just constantly creating content and watching videos and figuring out like, how can I make this engaging for the students? How can I make them feel like they're still getting this practical subject worth?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I only got a snapshot because I didn't get to see the entire process. But what I do remember last year,
Yes, you came to see it.
yeah, was when I came to see your dance class, the year nines. Because, you know, with us being the year 9 team last year, I was like, you know what? I have a free period. These students seem really passionate about it. You know what? I'm going to come along, watch the production. And it was, I'm not kidding you, it was amazing. I mean, because the fact that I saw some of these students and I know them quite well, I'm like, I would never imagine them doing a solo, for example.
Yeah.
It really shows how you must have really imparted your passions onto them, and they've
Hopefully.
no, definitely, like definitely, and that they've embraced it to the way that I've never seen that confidence in them before, and I don't think I've even seen it ever since in some of those students. But it was amazing. It was really good.
They learnt, so all of the group routines where they were all in sync, I taught that through WebEx.
Wow.
And like recorded videos, and they'd like record themselves doing it. They'd send it to me. I'd give them feedback.
Yeah.
It was a process and a half. It was definitely tough, but I'm sure you feel the same. Like after teaching through that young, I feel like I could just teach anything now. Like no issues. Like throw me in a room with lions and whatever. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like felt that. Like coming out of COVID and isolated teaching as my first year, now I'll walk into a class, something goes wrong, I was like, I'll just do this instead.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay. Whereas old me, I would have stressed out like 10 times by like within like the first minute.
Yeah.
And then like been like, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do?
How do
What
I change this? How do I fix this?
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we'll just do this. It's fine.
Yeah, you know, with all of us being so practical based in our subjects, and we missed out on so much of that. And just like how you were recording videos, I remember walking in on Mr. Young, like him recording science practicals. Hey guys, I know you can't see, I know you can't smell this, and we can't hear this, but this is what's happening.
Is what,
Yeah.
And then, actually, there was one part where, so what happened is we had party poppers, and so we had to explode them based on how much weight was required. And then, so at one point, I was just constantly filling weights into a cup, and it wasn't doing anything. And then Mr. Leung had to come in, and he had to film me doing it for me, and he had to hold it, and I had to slowly just pull down with my finger instead and be like, okay, how many newtons is this? How many newtons? How many newtons?
Oh no.
And then eventually one of them just popped and just hit my face, and then I was like, oh gosh.
Oh no.
Yeah, but the thing about recordings is that imagine that happening in a live
yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Then you're like, what do you do? But if it's a recording, delete.
I'm not doing this.
Save for my archives. No one will ever see this.
Yeah. Welcome to this experiment. We're going to do this for the first time.
First time.
Ignore the mess behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, first year teaching, I could not imagine what it'd be like if it was, you know, through COVID. And I mean, me now as a teacher, of course, I feel a bit more confident because I've used the digital technology stuff before, and I've been a bit more exposed to it throughout my years of teaching. But I can't imagine you having to learn to teach well the content and use a whole bunch of new technologies that you wouldn't have used before in the past as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I kind of just like, as soon as it was announced, I had the moment of freak out, and then I was like, nope, you can do this. You've performed for 10 years, however long, you're fine. Like, trust yourself, trust your own abilities. At the end of the day, these students are probably scared. Let's just focus on things that are going to, at least, they're going to have fun with. Because the beautiful thing with drama is, no matter what you do, you can always find some kind of lesson about confidence or communication or something.
Is that how you made the transition from performing arts to a teacher? Or how did the transition happen?
So teaching was always kind of something that I wanted to do once I hit like year 10 or 11. I wasn't 100% sure, but I was someone who, like, I went through a little bit in high school. You know, everyone has things that they go through. And I had a lot of teachers who kind of helped me through those dark and sad times and were able to help me kind of find who I am as a person and become confident in all these things. And I was like, that's what I want to do for other people.
I think for me, that was one aspect as well. I think when you think about the most influential people in our lives so far, I think we can all think of one or two of those teachers already in our heads. Yeah. Because for me, it was like, my English teacher, and it was also one of my maths teachers who was just really great at that. Yeah. How about you, Mr. Young? What teachers or what subjects? do you remember?
I definitely remember that I had a maths teacher that like basically knew my abilities and knew that I could push myself further. So like just one that like constantly inspired me to like actually just keep going and like not just try to like wing it and like lay low.
Yeah.
And those were the teachers that kind of inspired me because it was kind of like they just kept on pushing me to actually try to achieve what I needed to achieve. So aside from that, I think it was a teacher in year 4 or 5 actually
Wow.
that inspired me. I didn't know that they were going to inspire me to go into teaching, but like they inspired me because they literally I think they said the one thing that I needed to hear that would push me throughout everything, which was basically I'll be able to do it if I set my mind to it, not to like rhyme or anything, but like literally it just made me realize like the only thing holding me back from achieving anything is literally myself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So after I heard that, I basically just realized that I'm my own limiter. If I don't limit myself, I'll be able to achieve everything, which is what I want to push onto. Well, not push.
Inspire.
Inspire everyone
Encourage.
in my class. Yeah. Cool. So we've talked a lot about productions.
Yes.
Time to kind of segue into a new one, which is basically our last segment of the day, which is our watch list. So can be either a production, could be a movie, could be a musical, anything. What is something you would recommend to our viewers?
Who wants to go first? I can think of one.
I can think of one. It's not out yet. It is coming out.
Yep.
I've seen small clips from it. In the Heights. It is a beautiful, beautiful story that needs to be told.
Yep.
We really need to raise those voices as well. And I've seen small clips, and from what I've seen, it's phenomenal.
Yep.
And I'm so excited.
And it was written and created by
Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Yep.
who wrote Hamilton.
Exactly. And the lead actor for the movie is one of the lead actors from the original cast of Hamilton as well.
Yes, Anthony Ramos. He also played the character Usnavi that he's playing in The Heights at the Hollywood Bowl with Vanessa Hudgens.
I remember seeing him first when I watched. I didn't realize that until after I watched Hamilton. I was like, wait, I feel like I've seen him before. But the first time I've seen him in action would have been Star is Born.
I haven't seen it. Was he in that?
He is in
Wow,
it. He's like
okay.
Lady Gaga's best friend, like the
Oh,
best
cool.
friend. So,
Okay, maybe I should watch it.
Yeah,
You
so
should watch it.
yeah, Star is Born.
I almost cried.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was good.
I cry a lot, so I'll probably cry.
Yeah. The one show I can think of was that on Netflix. I don't remember the title, but in the watch list description, I'll give you the link. But it's a documentary. One thing that I sometimes like watching randomly is like, oh, anything related to Japan, because I miss going back to Japan. And I remember going out playing the video games like Samurai Warriors and hearing about the story about warring warlords and stuff like that. So there's like a 6-episode like historical reenactment, and they talk about how Japan became one country from multiple smaller clans and so on. So that one, for those of you history buffs who wants to find out a bit more, I can put that in the link in the description below.
Have you seen the on YouTube? There is a YouTube video called like a brief history of Japan.
Yeah, a brief history of, and then it's like the world, Japan, and the guy
I
who's
haven't seen this.
yeah,
There's so much to watch.
No,
Yeah.
it's basically just a meme in a video.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. He summarizes the history really well, but he uses very cartoonish meme
Right,
like
okay.
drawings and brushes over stuff really quickly.
Yeah. So my watch list recommendation is not something I've watched. It's something I want to watch.
Oh,
And
so it might be bad, but
It could be good. It could be bad. Could be good. We don't know.
Hope for the best.
I actually haven't seen the trailer for it. It's the new Conjuring movie.
Ooh, I've heard very, very good things about the trailer.
Okay, so I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I will watch it. But basically, I hate horror movies.
You've said
I
that.
am horrendous with
Yeah.
horror movies.
Yeah.
But The Conjuring has always been like the Conjuring series, and that whole universe is something that I've always made an exception for.
Isn't this the? They say it all the time. Isn't this the last one?
Saw 5 is the last one. The Saw. Final Saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shrek.
Yeah.
Forever.
Shrek 14.
Well, they're making 5 now.
Oh, God.
Oh god.
Anyway, so
Shrek
the-
2 is the greatest film of all time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do like number 2. Yeah, Puss in Boots. Yes.
But basically, Conjuring, all the storyline is always impeccable.
Yeah.
Like the acting is great, music is great. The music is always what scares me the most.
Yeah.
Every time
I
I watch
agree.
a horror movie, it's always what scares me the most. To the point where in every single horror movie, I will sit there with hands over my ears,
yeah.
like literally like this, just by default.
Yeah.
So by the time I finish the movie, I have to go back onto YouTube and search up what this meant because I didn't properly hear it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to avoid getting scared.
I can't handle jump scares. I have to close my eyes.
Same.
Yeah.
Would you say it's the music or the lack of music just before the jump scare, right? It's usually
All of it.
yeah.
Or it's like where they make you pay, like they try to make you pay attention onto one really small thing and then just bam.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like movies these days have defaulted to jump scares.
have.
But I feel like I know there's been a bit more films these days where they're trying to deviate from that. Where I heard, for example, like Hereditary and like
Hereditary did, yeah.
yeah, apparently like films that are trying to make it scary but not jump scare anymore.
Yeah, that was the first film that I had watched.
Yeah.
That I legitimately was freaked out from.
Really?
Not
I haven't
because
seen
of-
it yet. I haven't seen it yet,
No,
but I heard
like usually like jump scares, I'm like oh, and then that's it.
yeah.
But this one, I literally was so freaked out, I wanted to walk out of the cinema.
Yeah.
Really, I think I watched it at like I must have been half asleep when I watched it because everyone who I've spoken to is like it's phenomenal, and then I just remember sitting there like
This is slow.
I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I used to work overnight, so I was probably half asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I need to watch it again.
Because I just think back of the original Japanese Grudge that I watched growing up. And that for me is like, it wasn't jump scares. Like, I remember it's like, you know she's coming.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away
No.
any bit of the scare factor at all. Even though she's slowly creeps and appears in the screen. And I'm just like,
That
Yeah.
for me was The Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, it's a 2-hour film where literally nothing happens.
Yeah.
There's like 2 or 3 jump scares, but the idea that, also because it's a true story, kind of terrified
Yeah.
me. And you know that at any point,
Yeah.
these 3 people with the masks are going to appear, and it's just like 45 minutes apart each time, and you're just waiting, like holding your breath the entire time.
yeah. Ooh. A lot of recommendations for all you viewers and listeners today.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
coming
thank
today.
you.
Mr.
Thank you for
Bugge.
coming. So, of course, as usual with all of our podcasts, if you have any feedback or you would like to engage with us about any of the things we've said, or if you have a production you've watched or want to participate in or want the school to consider looking into, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely.
message us or
Yeah,
me.
Mr. Bugge.
we'll pass, we'll
Yeah,
pass along.
and then we'll pass it along. And if you have any input about what we've said today, feel free to let us know as well.
Yeah, and like for example, the only reason we have Mr. Bugge here today is because you guys have told us, hey, we want Mr. Bugge on. We want him to talk about productions, and here we go. Yeah,
I feel
definitely.
loved.
Yeah. So, any more suggestions? Definitely keep feeding them through. Sounds great.
Yeah. So, if there's nothing else, I guess this is it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
coming,
having me.
everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.